We do consulting if you guys are interested, and mentorship, as well as we're always looking for talent. We're hiring acquisitions team members, and if you guys want to get into the real estate game in any kind of way, let me know. We might have an opening either now or in the future for you guys to join the team. So yeah, if you're looking for that, please let me know. But guys, without further ado, welcome Ashley Abbott. Howard Veteran Marine. They built a $7 million rental portfolio using creative finance. Take it away, Ashley. Give another round of applause.
How's it going, everybody? I'm really excited you all came out tonight. And thanks, Dan, for doing this right in the middle of the Chiefs game. We still got a really good turnout. So, first thing I want to say is that networking is a really huge piece of what has helped me have some success over the past couple of years. And it was just 2 years ago, last month, that I went to my very first real estate networking event. It was a New Western event on the rooftop. I think it's Percheron in Kansas City. And I met Mindy Temple in there. And somebody told me I really should meet her. And a few weeks later, I went to her event in Blue Springs, and it started kind of snowballing from there. So going to these things, I say every other event that I've gone to, I've probably bought or sold a deal for the last 2 years now. And 55 houses now in about 3 years. And the first year I only bought 8. So it was when I started doing a lot of networking events and getting in rooms with people that were really successful, like this room. There's a lot of people really killing it in this room. And so, is anybody still waiting to do their first deal? Okay. All right, we got a couple people still waiting to do their first deal. Is anybody that's done 100 deals in here? What about like 500 deals?
Not done, but sold.
Okay. So, a big philosophy of mine is to get in a room with people that are more successful than you are. So if you can get in a room where you are literally the dumbest guy in the room, that is legit the room that you want to be in. You want to be the lowest guy on the totem pole and surround yourself with people that are doing amazing things and start replicating what those people are doing, and you'll be right at the top with them. So the more successful we get, and as the tides kind of rise, I really want everybody around me to rise with me. So we need to build each other up, help each other out. And another thing that has helped me get a lot of deals is just being available, answering my phone on the first ring for people. If somebody's got a question about creative deals, I'm happy to sit on the phone for an hour and talk about it, because I literally love real estate. I'm really passionate about it. And I seriously, I want everybody else to succeed, because a couple of years ago, honestly, I did not have a job from 2007 until 2019. So I really squandered a lot of talent for those years. And you know, I probably made like $20,000 or $30,000 a year for a decade and a half, and I really didn't know what I had. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in the KC area. I went to the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old, and I was stationed in Southern California. I was a radio operator with a field artillery unit, and we spent some time in Japan. And then in 2003, I got deployed to Iraq for the invasion to Baghdad. And so did that. That hurt my back when I was in the service in my neck, and had a back surgery. I ended up getting medical discharge after 4.5 years. And then I moved to Newport Beach in Southern California, which was pretty close to my duty station. And it was right when the real estate market was pretty hot. Everybody was in like refinance, and that was awesome about a year, and then everything blew up, and people lost their jobs. And so that's where I first learned about real estate and finance and stuff like that. But so from 2006 to 2019, I really just didn't work. I had a time transitioning out of the service, and I had some really serious battles with mental health problems, depression, and addiction. And so it took me a long time to heal and recover from that. I'd say today I'm excellent. I've come a long way, and I'm really happy with where I'm at. But the best thing that happened in my life was in 2009, I had my son, who is 14 years old now. And at that time, I realized that I needed to do some things in my life to become a good parent, a good father, and a good citizen. And so I went and got some help with the VA and the Combat Veterans Center, and did all the stuff that you're supposed to do to become a better person. So thankfully to my kids, which I have 3 beautiful, amazing kids. I've got also a 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old boy, that all 3 of them are the world to me. And so they really helped me change my life. And so had a couple kids, hit another rock bottom in 2013. I spent a month in the hospital in rehab for depression, and from that point just kind of kept healing, and raised a couple of kids, changed 10,000 diapers, so I was doing something from home. I raised 3 amazing kids. Everybody I know says, I don't know how you raise the most amazing, well-behaved children. Anywhere we go, people tell me that every day. So I was definitely doing something right when it came to that. I got a bachelor's in business and finance, and then I got a master's of science in IT management. And with the plan that once my youngest ones started school, I would go back to work, and I would find something that I loved. And so in 2021, when my son started kindergarten, I woke up one morning and said, I want to start a real estate business. And I went with a buddy of mine to the Jackson County auction, and we went 50-50 on our first house for about $90,000. And we actually paid way too much for that, and we each walked away with about $9,000, which is not very good for a flip. And so we did a couple flips and made $8,000 or $9,000 a piece on the first 2, and then I realized that my work ethic was a lot stronger than my partnership, and so we kind of parted. And one thing I realized about partnerships is, if you're a really passionate and hardworking person, it's hard to find somebody that can match your drive. And it was at that point that I found hard money and private money lenders, and instead of giving up a 50-50 partnership on a deal, I realized I could just give 25% of that to my private money lender, or 30%, but any of that is still better than 50%. So I had actually had Rex Rodenbaugh with Casey Investor Funding, who had funded a couple of my flips. I still do some with him now. And so I did that year, and I had accumulated 8 rental properties. And then I'm a really avid listener of Bigger Pockets podcasts. I like to go on a walk, throw it on my headphones. I was going to the gym, I'd listen to it. I was working on a house, I'd listen to Bigger Pockets. I bet I've listened to 800 hours of probably Bigger Pockets now. And one day I heard this episode with Pace Morby. It said 300 doors on seller finance with no money, and they started talking about subject to. And so a big way I bought a lot of these houses is with creative finance, and that's when it really took off. Just about 2 years ago, I listened to this podcast that pretty much said that you can take over anybody's mortgage without qualifying for it. You don't tell the bank. All you do is sign the warranty deed over to the new buyer, and you keep paying the mortgage payment for the seller. And you can do that with no money out of pocket. So I didn't really believe it, I didn't understand it, and I listened to that podcast a lot of times in about 2 days, and then started watching some YouTube videos, and it's really a thing. You can have terrible credit, you can have no money, and you can just say, hey sir, let me come and buy your house, and I'm just gonna start making the payments, and I'll get ownership, and it's really that. So I just started calling people and seeing if I could buy their house with no money down. And so if, for instance, somebody's house is worth $200,000 and they owe $170,000, you could say, hey, Mr. Seller, we could list your house. Right now, days on market are, what's days on market right now?
Not too many. More than
I don't know,
once.
40 days, maybe 40 days, and then you go to the bank to close on it. So we could sell your house in like 50 days. You could pay an agent 6%. You can get paid the buyer's closing costs 2%, and then you can pay a 0.5% or so for title, and you walk away with maybe 91% of the value of your house. Or let me buy your house, I'll fix it up, I'll pay cash, but I'm only going to give you 70 cents on the dollar because I'm an investor and that's how we do it. Or option 3, you pack 2 suitcases, walk out the door, I'll close on it in a week, but I'm going to pay you on payments, and I'm going to give you the top dollar of the best comp in the neighborhood. And so I would pull it out and I would show them the comps. I would say no commission, I'll clean your house out. All I want is to buy this on my terms, and I'm going to pay you your equity on payments. And so if the house is worth $200,000, they owe $170,000, I will take over that $170,000 mortgage that it might have a $1,000 a month payment, and I know that the rental comps are $1,800. I will negotiate with that seller on their equity to pay somewhere halfway between the principal and interest payment and what the market rent is. So if it'll rent for $1,800, the payment is $1,000, I know that I can give that seller up to $400 a month. I probably only want to give them $200, but I'll give them up to $400 a month because really that $800 in cash flow is probably like $300, maybe $400 after you're paying vacancy and maintenance and management. But the way I structure these, I use that formula every time, but I only pay principal-only payments to the seller on their equity. So if I'm paying them a month on $30,000, I just say, I'll pay you $300 a month for 100 months, and we write a promissory note that says 100 months, $300 a month, 0% interest, and 90% of the time they just say, okay, as long as they didn't need money to go buy the next house, I'm getting them out quicker, they're getting full price, no commissions, I clean it out, and most of the time we're taking over a 2, 3, 4% interest rate on these. So the first mortgage is already paying down $200 to $300 in principal reduction, and then the second mortgage that I structure on their equity is all principal. So some of these deals, we're paying down $600 a month in principal reduction, which, that's $7,200 a year. So even if I'm paying $300 a month on a second, and I'm breaking even on the cash flow, I know that this deal is putting $7,000 in my piggy bank every year. So as long as I can break even on those, if the principal reduction is really high, I structure it that way every time. I try and give them the least amount possible, and then I just work from there. And one of the best ways to pick up creative deals is finding stuff with equity, because there's a lot of people, if they're selling their house, they want that equity. They want to go buy a boat or the next house, or go to the boat. And so after all this mortgage stuff, and I learned how to do the creative deal, I hired a virtual assistant, from the Philippines from a website. It's called onlinejobs.ph, and it's almost like an Indeed monster or LinkedIn for the Philippines. And there's really an unlimited of talent that you can hire from anywhere from $4 to $7 an hour to do IT work, website building, skip tracing, cold calling, bookkeeping. It is really readily available there. And so we started cold calling a list of houses of people that either bought or refinanced their house from 2018 to 2022 because I knew that they had amazing interest rates and they didn't have very much equity. So any of these people I was calling, they probably weren't getting called by wholesalers because they were recently bought and had very little equity. So it's not usually hitting that target. So these people aren't getting called by a lot of people. They have very small chunks of equity. And the majority of the deals that we were locking up with these people were somebody that had to move a few hours away to be closer to their sister that has some medical problems. Or they just landed the job of a lifetime in Florida, and he doesn't have time to clean up his house and touch up paint and let it sit on the market for a few months because he needs to move in 3 weeks. And so there's all kinds of like that, motivated sellers out there every day that work or life or other circumstances or money has them ready to sell today, not in 3 months. And with creative finance, you win on price every time. So that's the best way to beat out even another wholesaler or a competition is to try and win on price with the seller, because they want to win something. And so if you let me structure my own terms, I can help you win no matter what. So we bought a house in Kansas City last year from a lady. She paid $179,000 for this house. That was probably worth like $150, and it was really nice turnkey, but it was at 27th and Agnes, and she paid cash for this house. Somehow this agent sold her on this house for $179. I don't know how. I decided that because her furniture didn't fit in there properly and it was a busy street, that she wanted to go get another house. And they had it on the market, but nobody wanted to buy this house at 27th and Agnes, even though it's turnkey, for $180,000. So I came along and I ended up giving her $186,000 for this house that normally I would have paid maybe $130, because she let me have this house with $6,000 down and 0% interest for 180 months. So I've got this really cheap 3-bedroom that we're renting for about $1,600, and I have a $1,000 a month payment on it. Every year it pays $12,000 in principal reduction. So 5 years from now, I'm going to owe that $130 that I would have wanted to pay originally. And there's no way she would have sold it for that, because she just literally dropped $179,000 of her life savings onto that house. So we were able to get all her money back, help her win on price, and she also has a really kick-ass job. She didn't need that money, but that $1,000 a month is paying her new mortgage on the real dream house that she's finding after that. So it's a really good example. 0% interest, it made that deal work for us. We're getting $600 cash flow gross. We're also getting $12,000 in principal reduction every year. It's really huge. So just helping the seller win on price, you can do creatively by keeping your money in your pocket. Typically, if you're buying a house retail as an investor, you have to put 20 to 25% down right now to get a 7.25% interest rate. It is about what things are sitting now on a DSCR, I just priced. And you could buy a sub 2 that has a 2.75. We just got one just a few weeks ago, and it was full retail price, but it pays $380 a month in principal. So I started buying these deals up, and the very end of 2022. In 2023, I ended up buying 19 houses, all subject to with almost no money down. Every deal, I just structure payments with the seller is 0% interest on the equity. We've got one guy we paid 3% interest because he was like, I could put it in a CD, it's like, okay, let's mirror the 3% on your house, and I'll give you 3% on the equity. And we got 3% on $90,000, 27 years. So it's actually an amazing deal in Columbus Park. And they're building $500,000 townhomes a block away right now. It's right on Harrison. And we got it for $348. Took over $250,000 first. We gave him $10,000 cash, and then a $90,000 second at 3% for 27 years. And that house is already probably pushing $450. And I put $10,000 down on it.
How much do you rent it out for?
That house we are renting for about $4,000, and the mortgage payment is $1,450, and we pay the seller $400 a month on the second. So we're paying about $1,850, and we midterm rental it for about $4,000. On the low end, like $3,600. And that guy, he was a software developer, had a ton of money, but he just had to go. And we gave him the best. He wanted to make $100,000 in his house. That was like his one goal. And he wanted to have $10,000 to pay his contractor to put in a new bathroom in his new house. So I gave him an offer $100,000 over what he owed on his, and I gave him the $10,000 cash. And he loved it. He loved us. So the first year, I think we built about $500,000 in equity and maybe about $1 million in houses and close to $500,000 in equity on a bunch of burrs. And then year 2, when I started doing creative finance, we went from $500,000 equity to $1.3 million in equity and $2.9 million in houses from January to December of 2023. And now in 2024, we are at 41 houses. At 40, we just sold one finally. Thank goodness. We gave it away and we saw it. But we just got to 7.1 million in valuation now. And it'll be October 13th will be the flip that I did in 2021. So it's just not quite 3 years. And learning a bunch of creative strategy, learning how to do this up to and structure a seller finance at 0% has kind of tripled that just probably this like last year and a half. So is anybody buying sub-twos? Dan?
Yeah.
Is anybody confused about what I'm talking about right now? Okay. So most of you kind of get the gist, right? So when it comes to any real estate transaction in the state of Missouri, whenever I go get a loan on my house, I have a promissory note with the bank saying Ashley Abbott's going to pay the bank $180,000, and they take that promissory note and they secure it with a deed of trust. And the deed of trust gets recorded at the county, and that deed of trust is a lien against the property. It says if I sell this property or I refinance this property, that lien must get paid off. And that's a deed of trust. And that just secures debt. And then you also have a warranty deed. And a warranty deed is totally separate from your deed of trust. The warranty deed conveys ownership of the property. So I can take a warranty deed for my property and I can sign that over to somebody else. And now they own the property. But I don't have to pay that deed of trust off. We don't have to pay the promissory note. So if I sell my house to Dan on subject to, because it's got a 4% interest rate and he loves cash flow and he doesn't want to buy it at 7.25 right now, he comes in and I put the warranty deed in his name, but the deed of trust that's in my company's name that secures his loan to my bank, we don't tell the bank anything. All we do is go to the title company on the title commitment. There is an exception that says exclude lien, do not pay that off. We're still ensuring that this title is free and clear of any other liens and encumbrances, that I'm the owner, he's going to be the new owner. But we all acknowledge that that loan and that lien against the property is not going away. So the essence of subject to just means I'm buying a house subject to the liens in place. It could be a mortgage, it could be a HUD lien, or one of these COVID relief liens. We buy lots of houses that have these
Solar on there?
solar liens, absolutely. Stick it to the bank, stick it to the man, transfer those really low interest rates out, and sell that house off to somebody else that can get the cash flow. And I will sell my houses subject to as well. I'm working a deal right now on a couple of my houses that have really low interest rates, because it's given me an opportunity to sell my house for faster or for more money, because a savvy investor would much rather take over my 4% interest rate and go to the bank and get a 7.5. And we can close even faster because they don't have to get approved. Anybody in this room can go buy a house subject to with no credits and little or no cash out of pocket. That part you have to negotiate with the seller, but it's just transferring the warranty deed, transferring that ownership to somebody new. You just leave the bank note in place. You don't tell the bank doesn't like it. Technically, the deed of trust, that security instrument, will have language in there that says if you sell this house, we can call you due, because we don't want to keep this cheap paper out there, or anything, a high rate out there, and let somebody take over that we haven't underwritten them and seen what their credit is. So we just don't tell the bank. It's not illegal. You're basically breaking the bank covenant, but there's no illegal act about that. The worst thing that can happen, you get a letter from the bank that says, hey, we see that you're not the owner of this anymore. You need to pay us off in the next 15 days or remedy the situation. And so I haven't had a situation yet. 90% of the time, it's because you're default on your loan, or you didn't have your insurance set up right. And you always have to have the original borrower on the insurance. So we take out a new policy, and we ourselves the main insured, because we're on the warranty deed. We should be primary insured, but we still keep the seller as an additionally insured party, and we just upload that to the mortgage portal, and we've never had a problem. One time, the bank reached out to us because they wanted the policy in the seller's name and not the seller's business name, because of just the way it was on the statement. And we said, okay, we'll take care of you. We have notarized agreements that calls us the financial manager for the seller's property. So whenever I close on this at the title company, I have the seller sign a notarized document that says, Lee Summit Real Estate Investor Group is financial manager for my property at this address and is notarized. And we also get another document signed that says, Lee Summit Real Estate Investor Group is the property manager for this property. All insurance proceeds will go to our entity. And whenever we update a policy with their current insurance company, we will give them show the power of attorney and also this document that says I'm the property manager. I don't tell them I transferred the deed. I don't tell the bank or the insurance company. I just show my power of attorney and that I'm the property manager and the financial manager for the seller. And as long as you have the insurance good, the bank shouldn't come knocking. The only other time that this happens a lot is if somebody's already in foreclosure, it's getting close to the auction date, the banks are going to be sniffing around, attorneys are going to be sniffing around, checking the title, because whenever a bank sells a property at auction, they usually want to convey clear title to that new buyer. And so they're making sure there's not any other outstanding liens against the property that need to get resolved. And so if you transfer ownership of that right before an auction, and then you pay it current, might still see that it just changed ownership because they're looking to the record of deeds. So we bought a lot of houses that are pre-foreclosure sub-2, and I handle all these in a very specific way, and we will first take over the property with a contract for deed. So I will with the seller, I'll say, you don't have much equity in your house, you've got a ton of deferred maintenance, you've got $11,000 in arrears, and there's no equity. So I can give you $2,500 cash, and I can keep the foreclosure from going on your record, and they're usually happy. We've given a few people $4,000, but anywhere typically $2,500 to $4,000 we give to a seller that's in foreclosure. And before I give them any money, most of these are also in arrears, $10,000 to $15,000. And so if you're a wholesaler and you come across one of these pre-foreclosures where the seller has tons of arrears to the bank, they don't have a lot of equity, how are you going to find a buyer to pay their arrears and pay an assignment fee and give the seller a couple grand? There's no room there. So even if it's a juicy interest rate. So what I'll do is I'll get on a three-way. First, I put it under contract with the seller for their $2,500, and I say, we got to negotiate with the bank to make this work, or else it's just a dead deal. And so I will put it under contract, and then I will meet the seller at the bank, and I'll have them sign a contract for deed with a notary at a bank, which gives me ownership of the property. I mean, it's a contract that says when I fulfill my duty on this property, I will have the deed, which in Missouri, that gives me all the rights to sell it, refinance it, do as I please with it, as long as I've got that contract for deed. It's also called an agreement for sale. And once I have that signed, now I'm okay with distributing some money to the seller or paying their mortgage, because I know I can do what I want. They can't flake out on it. It's technically mine. So then we get on a three-way call with the bank, and I say, hey, this is Ashley. I'm Faith's financial manager. We're working to get her bills back on track. We've saved up a little bit of money. We know the mortgage is behind, but if we were to bring it current, it would just put her back in a financial hardship, and we've been working diligently to get her on financial track. Is there anything else that we could do here, like a loan modification or a partial claim? And so those are two things that you can work out with the bank to take that $12,000 in arrears and move it to the back of the loan. So I've never paid anybody's mortgage current that had an extensive amount of arrears. So I get on that call with the bank. They really don't want to deal with foreclosure on a house that has no equity anyway, because it probably won't even sell at auction, and they're going to have to, they're just going to be stuck with it. So they will, on a loan modification, they will jet that arrears to the back of the loan, and they'll re-amortize the loan for 40 years. So we've got sub-2s at 2.75% interest rate that are 40-year fixed now, because we did loans. And the loan mod process, it takes 90 days, You have to make 3 consecutive payments to the bank for them to finalize that process. And that's another way to do the contract for deed, because I don't want to pay any money to the bank or the seller unless I know that this is my house. So we'll make those 3 payments to the bank, and then at that point, probably around the 4th month after everything's solidified, then I'll take it to the title company and we'll transfer the property officially with a warranty deed, and that's it really. So the reason this goes straight to the title company and transfer the property is because that loan loss period, the bank is still like looking into this. It's still in limbo. So that's a good not to tip off the bank until really they don't have eyes on that. So, got a question about that, Dan?
Yeah, so you said loan mod takes 90 days. How do you get a foreclosure stop so that you can then, if you don't have probably 90 days before foreclosure to do that?
So as soon as they approve the loan mod, which can be anywhere from like 1 to 3 days, usually.
Really?
Unless if it's like a week away from auction, sometimes they're already dug in, and it can take longer. But we've had a few times we were on the call with them, and they said, "Oh, hey, you have to take this COVID relief option." They like see it right in their system. You know, maybe this is the first time you've been behind, and you haven't exercised that option. So these government relief programs are there to kind of bail the bank out. So if that option is there, the bank will exercise that. The housing development like pay the bank to cover the attorney fees and stuff like that, and then you can end up with a HUD lien. That's the partial claim is the COVID bailouts. They actually, instead of a loan modification that takes 90 days, these other options can only take like 30, and they'll take all those arrears and they'll put them on a second mortgage. That's usually it's covered by HUD or FHA or VA even will bail the bank out, and there will be a lien on the property of 0% interest and 0 payments, but it's due upon sale or refinance. So with that option, there is no 3 payments, 90 days of loan mod. They actually just take the arrears, put them on a second lien that's interest free. That actually moves a little quicker. But as far as the 90 days, as soon as you're approved for a loan mod, they stop the foreclosure process. It won't proceed. It won't tack any more days. It'll pretty much be in forbearance. Usually can be in forbearance for 30 to 60 days before the loan mod even starts sometimes. So, which is nice. It can give you time to go in, pay the property, and get a tenant ready before you even have to make that first payment.
Ashley, are there any mortgage types that you stay away from?
What was that?
Any mortgage types that you stay away from?
So, I've subbed to VAs and FHAs without any problems yet. I have heard a decent amount of chatter about at least staying away from like smaller credit unions that are actually holding that paper in-house, because a lot of the bigger institutions they sell this debt off, and they're servicing companies that actually will pay like a point to these lenders to fees and service fees to actually service these loans. So a lot of that debt has already been sold off, the money's been made on it, but smaller portfolio lenders are holding on to that debt, and I have heard that a lot of those are checking and out for that. So one thing that I would say is I never buy any deal, even if cash flow is good, if I have no exit strategy. So I think it's okay to maybe pay a little over retail if it's a really good deal, but you need to, on a seller finance. I pay $100,000 over appraised value on a seller finance if it was at 0% interest. I mean, I probably do that all day long. But I wouldn't do something like that on a subject to, because if a credit union did call the loan due and I couldn't work things out, I want to make sure that I can at least sell that and break even. But another thing is, even if the loan gets called due, all you have to do is deed the property back to the seller. And you don't even need the seller to do that. You already have power of attorney. So whenever we do a subject to, I have an agreement that says, in the event of a due on sale clause, the seller will make all efforts with buyer to rectify and resolve the situation, and we will deed the property back in lieu of a lease option that the trigger price on the lease option reduces by the principal balance every single month. Or we just write a contract for deed and we just do a memorandum, or we put it in a safe deposit box and we don't go and record that at the county. As soon as you deed the property back over, the bank has to leave you alone because it's been resolved. So you usually have like a 15 to 25 day period once that due on sale clause is enacted that you can rectify that situation. So deed the property right back, take a contract for deed or a lease option. If you're lease optioning, the only thing you're losing is your ability to take depreciation. So, but if you swap a contract for deed, you can keep on, taking depreciation and your tax and stuff like that. And really, I've heard of people deeding it right back too, and just, going back and forth, with it. I probably would do that more than once, but it's, I don't think anything to be worried about, especially if you're buying deals that are serviced by a lot of these bigger banks. We have a bunch with Mr. Cooper and Rushmore Servicing, PennyMac. I've got, I think we only have one with a really, like a Community America deal, and I just haven't worried about it. If I have to sell one, who cares? Like, if I'm buying 10 of these every year, who cares if I gotta sell one, as long as I'm buying in a position that I have multiple exits. So, as long as you're not just buying a full retail to wrap it to an end buyer or something, I'd be prepared if you had to. Otherwise, I'd collect as many of those as you can. I mean, anything from like 2 to 4% is amazing. I mean, I will try and hold those for the rest of my life, at least till they mature, because you're really doubling your income on the principal reductions. Anybody else got some questions about something? Yes.
Yeah, actually, whenever you're describing the situation to the seller, does the seller have a question on if they're going to get another loan for another house per se, if that's an income issue? Or are they able to use your payments as like a lease or a rent payment to offset that?
That's a really good question. Twofold. So,
What did he ask?
okay, so the question is, if you sell me your house subject to, that loan is staying on your credit. So, if you go to the bank to buy another house next year, they're going to pull your credit report, and they're still going to see this $1,000 mortgage payment every month. Well, as long as we can show that we're making that payment, that's not coming out of your bank statement anymore. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guys have a clause in there that says that anybody that is substitution of debt, basically making those payments for 12 or more months, can be wiped away from your debt to income ratio. So technically, Fannie Freddie guidelines say 12 months, but I can tell you that I have bought at least 3 properties from sellers that they needed to sell their house fast because they had their dream house under contract and they could not afford both houses. And so we closed one in a couple of days because the house that they wanted to buy, it was a new construction, it was like a really hot neighborhood, and the developer, they would not take a contingent offer unless the original house was at least under contract. And so we put it under contract that day. We closed in 4 days, maybe it was 5. Took title 5 days, and the bank said, "Hey, this is still on your credit." And a few weeks down the line, while they were in process, "Hey, this is still on your credit. What's going on?" and we showed the time commitment of the closing that says this is a wraparound mortgage, and show that my entity bought the property and that we were actually making these payments to the seller, even though we haven't even made one payment yet. So another thing, this is like one of my favorite tips for real estate agents, is that it is a contract on a purchase contract on a property that has a contingency of selling your house. Well, if I'm a seller and I want to buy that subject to, a really clean, easy way for me to do this is to write a lease option contract on the seller's home so that they can get their new house. So I'll write a lease for say $1,800, but it also has the option to purchase. And also conventional guidelines allow for a homeowner to turn their primary residence into an investment property, even if they don't have previous landlording experience. You can turn your primary into a rental, and they will reduce that rental income from your mortgage, or they just delete that mortgage out. So I can lease on property, and then the lender can write a non-contingent pre-approval letter. So the agent can go submit that offer with a pre-approval that is not contingent on selling their house, because we have the lease in place. And so I write that lease option. I also write a separate purchase contract as well. And as soon as my seller, as soon as they close on their new house, I'll execute my option to buy their old house, and then we'll transfer the deed over, because it's just less stuff for the underwriter on the new purchase to figure out, like what's going on with the DTI, all this stuff, what's subject to, oh, okay, you're releasing your house, okay, cool, pre-approved, non-contingent. They close the new house, and then I swoop in like 2 days later, and they transfer the warranty deed to me, and I start making the other payments. So that is like the easiest way to go be non-contingent and also sell right away. Or maybe you get under contract on the new house contingent, but you still can't get yours sold. If you guys are in a situation like that, call me. I want that house. Like if it's got 6% rate or less, I'll probably buy that. But not if the seller needs 50 grand down payment on their new house. If it's just a debt to income issue, call me. We'll figure something out. I'll try at least to do that. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. We can show the paperwork. Typically, there's also servicing companies that can make those payments. I can pay the servicing company pays the mortgage company, and anything that is paid by a servicer, 100% the underwriter will take that off too. They'll say, okay, somebody else is paying this. So not something to worry about. If a bank has a problem, go to the next bank, and it'll get done. What else we got? Yes, sir.
So, I'm thinking of doing this. So, you're doing the renegotiation with the bank. You got them on the phone. You got the legal right to make that negotiation. They're on there. And all the light bulb goes on. I could have done this, but I didn't know I could do it. And then they get swerved. Does that ever happen to you, or is that just
No, because I beat them to the punch. Because I don't negotiate with the bank until I take the sale to my bank and I have them sign the contract for deed, notarized to where that's my house now. And then we'll go talk to their bank and try and get theirs. All right? I thought about that immediately. Like what? Oh man, I can get this 12,000 kicked to the back and now I'm out in foreclosure. So, I mean, in a perfect world, that's great. Maybe I would, if they were like, please let me keep my house, I might. But, I'm trying to be like, have integrity and stuff. But usually, the people in that situation are usually tired and worn out, and they have a lot of deferred maintenance. If they're not making their mortgage payment for 9 months, they've probably got leaks, other deferred maintenance, and in a fresh start, it can go a long way. So, we clean everything out, we get rid of any of that extra baggage that they're going to deal with. So I really try and listen to all of my clients' needs and try and formulate a plan. So if they want to keep their house, dude, let's figure out a way to keep your house. I can make money on the next one, but they're usually ready for a change most of the time. So I'd say listen to their needs. You're going to know, probably, what is next for them. Is usually I say, what is your ideal situation? Where do you want to go from here? What can I do to help you out? And just being a good listener for your sellers. Most of the time, sub-2 deals aren't the answer. It's probably like 1 out of 10 deals. It's usually a cash deal. It's probably the answer. Or it's a nice retail house. Let's list it. I'm happy to send a listing for a 40% marketing fee. That pays for my leads. So there's tons of texts. List the property, cash deal. Hey, you're tired, you're worn out, you inherited this property. Cool, I'll throw everything away from you. We'll get you a little cash. We'll close in like 3 days. So I push some of the interest rates great. It just makes, if like the cash flow would make sense for me. Otherwise, I'd love to get an assignment fee. I've sub-2'd something with a 7% interest rate just so I could burr it. Because you could have a seller finance or a sub-2 that's a total dump and has a ton of equity opportunity there, and just bring in private money to do your renovation. So there's a lot of ways to get creative just to get the property and know that you're still going to sell it or renovate it and then burn it, if that's okay too. Jen?
Yeah. How has sub-2 changed your investing strategy, and how does that affect your portfolio?
We are pretty high leverage. So that's probably one thing sub-2s have allowed. I've got $7 million in assets now, but we owe $4.8 million. So some people have $7 million paid off, or they, they're burning everything at 70% low value. Maybe they owe $3 million or something. So I'm definitely higher leverage. I would say that leveraging debt is a really good tool with sub-2. You can buy a lot more property. If I can buy a $350,000 house with $10,000 down instead of $75,000 down, it'd be 25%. I could buy $1.5 million real estate for that $75,000. So, and then that $1.5 million, if it goes up 10%, I made $150,000 instead of I bought one house for $300,000, and it goes up to 10%, I only made $30,000. So it definitely makes me look at principal reduction a lot more. How much payoff? We pay off $8,000 a month in principal on our stuff. So it's like $90,000 a year or so that is just going in my back pocket. So if I just stop today and just hold on to all these 2, 3, 4%, we're going to make a shit ton of money over the next several years just holding really low rate paper. And then you can just start wrapping them all to owner finance. So are you picking up any SAPos?
No, we don't. No, we'll buy and burr out of them and then do it.
Yeah.
I've done that with him though.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you, you have the $7 million of property. I don't know what your cash flow is, but, it sounds okay. But even so, how do you, if something breaks, how do you make money on a day-to-day basis to cover any CapEx or these large expenses that may come up?
Okay, that's a really good question. We have this problem. So when you're buying a sub-2 deal, you really want to buy with the least amount of deferred maintenance possible, because everybody in here probably knows the burst strategy. You know, buy, renovate, rent it, refinance it, get your money back, and repeat. So on a sub 2, you're buying for that interest rate and for that cash flow stream, but there's no way to pull your money back out of those. So if I'm buying a sub 2 that has deferred maintenance just to get it rented, I have to leave all of that money in the deal. So I think we've got about 25 sub 2s now, and just about every one we've had to put money into. So after my first year and a half, the rates went up to like 8.5 for DSCR. Now they're back to like 7.25. But once interest rates got really high, instead of doing the burst strategy, I started flipping everything. So I will, I'll buy a house at 70% of after repair value. We'll get our cash out, and I'll use the $30,000 to $40,000 profit we get on a flip to go buy two sub 2 deals that actually do cash flow. So we take our flip profits and I take a sales to go buy subject 2 deals and to pay all the deferred maintenance. So we probably spent $180,000 on deferred maintenance this year. All these houses I'm buying are typically deferred maintenance. The interest rate and the cash flow is great, but they're more often than not, they need everything. There's houses that people bought in the last few years that are in phenomenal shape that maybe only need like $5 or $6 grand, but you definitely need to have multiple revenue streams or a W-2 job or something to get sub 2s and handle your deferred maintenance, and you still want to make sure you have a good amount of cash flow. We count about 72% of gross cash flow is what we think that we'll get net. We do all our own maintenance with our flip crews. I think lowers our cost of maintenance significantly. So if you've got a couple avenues there, I think it's great to self-manage. You can manage your costs better. But definitely with cash flow, it's kind of just pretend. It's really not real. Like it looks like you're making a lot. Like at the end of the day, it's as long as you're breaking even, you're winning. Seriously, because eventually you'll get depreciation. Real estate has never gone down across a 10-year period, and ever since it's been studied. And so, as long as you're a little better than break even, and you're making up for your time, your opportunity cost of that management and stuff as well, that the principal reduction and appreciation over time is going to create wealth. Like flipping is great, but it's still just today money. Assignment fees, that's today money. There's no tax advantage. Like you're paying a shit ton of taxes. If all you're doing is flipping wholesaling, you're not keeping any. Everybody really should be keeping at least a couple doors. Yes. Well, I have had a realtor say, my seller's not going to be interested in this, or I had a kick-ass Fourplex deal, sub 2, that fell apart one time, all because the realtor sucked, man. And so if it's anything creative, I will not even consider negotiating that unless I can talk directly with the seller so they have 100% knowledge of what's going on. I absolutely will try and keep the realtor involved. I'm not going to try and cut you out. I'm happy to pay your fee all day long to get a juicy deal. So I would say make sure that you're dealing with somebody that knows what they're doing, and that everybody knows that, hey, this is staying on your credit, I'm just taking over the payments, I'm going to pay your commission, and if you're getting paid, you're happy too. But I think there's a little more education now about subject to and creative deals with the interest rates being higher for a couple of years now. That it's a lot more in the mainstream, and so I've gotten multiple deals from agents, and we paid agent commissions on them. And I bought a duplex. My first creative deal was a duplex, and this is a little more complicated situation, but I got the seller to carry 22.5% of the loan. And so we went and to get a 75% loan to value loan. And then I wired in the 25% down, but I also had an agreement signed by me and the seller that says that the down payment was 36 grand. And so me and the seller signed an agreement that says title company will hold $36,000 in escrow after closing until further instruction from buyer and seller. And so I wired my money in. Title company said, hey, bank, all money's in, wire your money. Bank money was in. We had a separate agreement that the seller would provide me a cash out second position loan after closing for 36 grand. And so we closed on it, the bank was good, and then we had a second agreement that says buyer and seller agree to release $36,000 to buyer. And we also, in that agreement, buyer signs promissory note, deed of trust recorded at the county to seller, and we basically took a second position at close, and we 100% financed this duplex, 75 with the bank, 25 with the seller. And his property was sitting on market for 2.5 months, and he was just ready to make a deal. And we gave 6% interest. So I guess I have paid interest to 2 sellers, but that was a pretty sweet deal to work in the bank and the seller on that. That's a really doable situation there. But banks don't like 100% combined loan to value on a property, so you have to go a little creative to close that second position after closing. I can hear you, Matt. Absolutely. Every agent in here that's got contingent deals, I'd love to see them. You know, if the seller doesn't need a bunch of money to close on their new deal, I'd love to take a crack at it. I'll underwrite anybody's deal in this room as long as I've got time. If anybody's got questions about anything, we can jump on a call for like an hour. I'm driving all the time. Happy to talk about this stuff. Happy to get you a commission and pick up another sub-2 deal. So getting in this room is all about collaborating. I see a ton of people in here that I've already done some deals with, and if we haven't done a deal together, we should, like this year, literally. Let's close it out really strong. Is that what you're saying, Matt? I'm definitely happy to help any agent in here learn more about sub-2 stuff. I will, well, we don't really have a screen or nothing, but I can give you guys my phone number. So if you got any questions, it's 816. Oh, you know what? My mom right here, she's got Post-it notes with all her info. So we use those for door knocking. And actually, so I do have a little bit of a team that keep me going. And my mom does take the brunt of most of that. She's managing the 40 units right now, almost single-handedly. So, Mom, I just want to thank you for all that stuff you're doing. Bookkeeping and all the late-night calls from everybody. So,
What do you even do, Ashley? That's how you do anything.
dude, I'm a flipper, man. Dude, we were working on 11 houses about probably 7 weeks ago. I was cutting checks on 11 properties that were all vacant. It was either we were flipping them, we were burring a couple, we had 2 evictions, and we had like 3 other turnovers. So I'm a busy dude, man, too, I promise. And I'm on the phone all the time talking about real estate. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a buy box that you have, or do you?
Yes, I actually, so 64123 through 64134. I am 65, 85, and 95 for 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. If it's 130 to 134, you can add 5,000 on top of each of those. If it's 127, 128, subtract 8,000, and give or take. And then I really like Lee Summit, Blue Springs, Rain Valley, Raytown. I love doing flips in Raytown. I've got several houses in Independence too. I generally am sticking to 170 to 260 ARV is right in kind of the rental grade, so I can, maybe I flip it, maybe I'll keep it. And then anything with a great grade, absolutely. If we can find cash flow there, I'm interested in those. You gonna send me some deals? Yes.
I have a question about your offshore workers that you hire, like in the Philippines. What are some of the best things you learned about managing people like those over the years?
VAs are incredible. They really have been huge for me. Regina, I've had her for a year and a half now. She was responsible for at least 14 deals in the first year that I had her, which made us a lot of money. We did 194,000 in assignment fees, and over half of those were from deals that she did for us. So the VAs, overcame has been at least half of my assignment fees and acquisitions, and the other half is literally just like hanging out with you guys and trying to be valuable and having something give back to people. If they call me for a question, they might have a deal too, and we could structure a deal. But that website I mentioned, onlinejobs.ph, is really a great resource. We've hired at least 6 VAs from there. Actually, we're doing like a call center for a roofing company now that he contracted us to hire the VAs and a manager, skip trace, run it, set up his call tools. So it's kind of just a side gig. But if anybody's interested in getting a few VAs, we can vet them for you. My lead manager VA, she does all the recruiting and interviewing, and she also manages the VAs that we're pushing out for this roofing company right now, and I think he's having really good results on that. So it's not that difficult to get on there and set up and find somebody yourself, but I could help you with that. I could walk you through it, or maybe even do it for you potentially. It's been really good. So if you guys are worth $10 an hour, even anybody in here is worth, hopefully you're all worth 100 or more. But you really need to be delegating out everything that you're doing. So you shouldn't be pounding the phones when you can pay somebody $4 to $6 to do that. If you make, or sometimes I'm guilty of still making runs to the dump sometimes. I'm like, I really could have somebody, I could be paying $25 an hour for this, so I can make $400 an hour. Last year we added $800,000 in equity, on a $2,000 hour a year. That means I'm worth $400 an hour, technically. Should I be running to the dump or cold calling? So really you should just be closing deals or whatever your craft is. Everything else, you should delegate it. If that person below you costs $99 when you're still making $100, you should still delegate that out because your NOI is going to be up $1 extra or 1,000x that if it's cold calling and you're just hitting the hot leads that they warmed up for you. And we have a really great IT guy that we also got on there. We have an excellent bookkeeper that is highly organized. I am so disorganized. I don't even know how I'm doing that. And somehow we're making it work because we're going out there and we're just putting one foot in front of the other every day. And just showing up here, you guys are doing the right things. Specific craft that you're thinking about implementing into your
You're asking me?
Yes.
Well, I'm primarily in the insurance business, although I've done real estate over the years. I just keep adding a couple properties. But
literally be huge for you. And that's, $800 a month is what you're gonna pay for a full-time VA, give or take. And that's if you're going direct. But maybe you're outsourcing it to a service at $8 an hour and you're paying $1,600 a month for that, which is really valuable still too. If you don't have the time, you might as well hire somebody. You can hire somebody to do that for you, but it'll change your life. The more, Dan, how many VAs do you have now?
I've got 5 VAs right now.
So Dan, you guys can really get a VA for just about anything in your business, and it's going to make you a lot stronger. And just focus on whatever it is that you're very best at, and you can hire VAs for most of it. Unless you need like boots on the ground, actually taking pictures at appointments and doing things like that. You can't really get a VA for that, but anything else, I'm 100% virtual assistant for anything that doesn't require like brick and mortar or boots on the ground type of person. We good?
I think we're good. Any last questions?
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely. Yeah, give Ashley another round of applause, guys. 100%. Just piggybacking off what he said about the VAs. The final question. I've had VAs that have worked for me in various companies for probably almost 4 or 5 years now. I've got a team of 5 on my team, and to put it into perspective, guys, like you definitely do have to hire people right and sift through talent, but if you could find a VA for $4 to $6 an hour, like the Philippines, to put that into perspective of what kind of quality of person you're getting over there. Like one of the guys that works for me, he's an engineer. He's a civil engineer in the Philippines, right? And as a civil engineer, he makes like $1 an hour, like $1 an hour, working in that skilled profession that in America, that's going to pay like $60,000 to $80,000 a year, right? And so if we can, I'm paying these guys same as Ashley, about $4 to $6 an hour. That's like them making, $200,000 to $300,000 a year in equivalent purchasing power in the Philippines, right? And so you can get these are college educated. One of the gals that works for me, she went to law school in the Philippines. They're it's top tier type talent. I don't hire VAs for anything that isn't like you said, boots on the ground. You can really have a very high leverage point because you're paying them, $800 a month. There's no taxes. There's no, you're 13% for Social Security and everything. And literally for the cost of one person, for $60,000 a year, you can hire 5 or 6 full-time team members to do literally any number, any task you want. That doesn't have to be physically here. You can probably find somebody in the Philippines to do it. So. If you guys are interested in that, talk to Ashley or talk to me. Happy to help you with some resources to start that journey for yourself. Yeah, guys, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors again. Rick Davis Title, if you guys have deals to close, and Rex Road bought Casey Investment Funding, guys. I hope that you enjoyed that. We're going to have, I think, Mark Delatorre, SPD Housing, next month. He's like another heavy hitter, guys. I don't know if you heard of him. He's not super public, but he's got, I think, hundreds or maybe even thousands of rental properties under management, doing a ton of deals, wholesaling and flipping. He's going to probably come and speak next month, guys. So make sure to mark your calendars and follow me on Facebook to be notified for that. And does anybody have any other questions about anything? Happy to help. If not, guys, let's have a great night. We're in here till 9 or 10 o'clock. I'll have them put the music and the Chiefs game back on if you guys want to hang out here and have some more drinks and cigars and network, and let's do some deals, guys. So thank you all for coming.